So today, lads, I'm going to be grading every single Indiana Fever signing in free agency and the draft. We're going to be grading all of it, and to be honest, price matters. Price matters. And yeah, so first of all, we are going to be taking a look at, I'm going to be grading Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. The assumption she is there or thereabouts at the minimum. That is the assumption for Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. I am working off she's going to be paid less than $400K. She might be the minimum. She might not be the minimum. And my grade for Shatori Walker-Kimbrough is an F. Why? The team did not need another guard. Her addition to the squad as a guaranteed player for the roster has basically meant that Justine Pissott might be gonzo. Like, Justine Pissott might not be on the roster because of this. And yeah, I think it's a really tough one to argue that Walker-Kimbrough is higher than an F, if we're being completely real. I think overall this is a not great signing and might, when it's all said and done, be one of the worst signings that the Indiana Fever will make. Purely, even though I do not dislike Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, just based on everything, based on what the Fever needed and what they really did not need. So we're going to give her an F, and the reason I'm on this screen right now is that, in fact, she is not. You're not going to see Shatori Walker-Kimbrough on the roster for some reason. So. Next up, we're going to go with Jessica Timmons at number 40. I'm going to say for Jessica Timmons, I'm going to give this a D, a C minus maybe. Why? Because the Indiana Fever did not need an undersized scorer. Like, even for training camp. Even at training camp. These are the last type of players that you need in your... Like, if you want to sign practice players to just be dogs, you don't need a scoring undersized two-guard that can't really facilitate. That's not what you want. You don't want to work in practice against a bunch of, like, elite scorers. I don't think Jessica Timmons is a bad player, but when you could have taken Lanny White, who had a legitimate chance to do something for your team as a pure spot-up shooter, you could have taken Layla Filia, you could have taken Yarden Garzone, you could have taken Reagan Beers, you could have taken Maggie Dugan, Hannah Stolke. Shea Chesky is just better than Jessica Timmons, and they do similar things. There are so many of these players that are getting picked up straight away by other teams that you could have taken instead of Jessica Timmons at 40. I don't hate the Jessica Timmons pick. I'll give it a D because it just wasn't what they needed. There was so much more that they could have gotten. Then, the pick right before that, they signed Justine Pissott. Justine Pissott is a... I'm not low on Justine Pissott. The reason why I'm not high on Justine Pissott is that she's not going to make the roster. The Shatori Walker-Kimbrough pick has basically meant that Justine Pissott is not going to make the roster for the Indiana Fever. And I'm sorry, based on what my understanding of the developmental slot rule, if she signs her developmental deal, she can't leave for 14 days. There is going to be a team in the WNBA that is going to want to sign if she shows anything in preseason. Like, all she has to do is walk on the floor in preseason and hit a three-pointer. And somebody is going to sign her at the end of those 14 days. The New York Liberty very well could be they're a smart team. They're going to see a 6'4" guard shooter and see what they saw with Leo Phoebish. And teams really underrated Leo Phoebish. The reason why is because she's not an out-and-out post player, but she was a 6'4" guard. Teams are going to see that in Justine Pissott. And someone is going... this could be an A. This could have been an A+ pick, but I fully believe by the end of the season, we will see Justine Pissott playing against the Indiana Fever. So I'm not going more than a C+, because this is a pick that they should have just drafted a stash. If she doesn't make the final roster, I'm very confident we will see her playing against the Indiana Fever. This could be wrong, but I gave this an A on draft day. But after the Shatori Walker-Kimbrough signing and her basically being guaranteed a role in the team, I'm going to put this in C. Instead of an A signing, I'll give it a C. Then we have the 10th pick in the draft, Raven Johnson. For Raven Johnson, look, I don't really hate this pick. I don't love the Raven Johnson pick. I don't hate it. From a pure basketball standpoint, they just have too many guards, especially with signing Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. At the time, I gave it a B-, and I'm going to go C. Like, Nell Angloma fit a need. This team has no wings. Heck, Medina Okot could have fit a need because the team has no size. Like, and if you wanted an undersized South Carolina wing to play a bit of offense, Tania Latson was there. Like, she is going to spend her rookie season fighting it out with Shatori Walker-Kimbrough for Sid Colson's minutes. She's not better than Ty Harris. She's not better than Caitlin Clark. She is going to be fighting it out with Shatori Walker-Kimbrough for end of the bench minutes and may not play other than, like, she is going to be a utility player. You know those players that are just pure lockdown, and it's like, okay, we're going to put, anytime another team's guard is cooking us, you're going to just full court press her for 4 minutes. And if the other team's guard's not cooking us, we don't need you. Like, she is a utility. She's just like a prop, for lack of a better word. Like, she is going to be used in very specific niche situations this year. And the Fever used their best pick they might get for years. I'm going to go C. I was on B-. I'm going to go C- based on the Shatori Walker-Kimbrough pickup. It doesn't make any sense. Sophie Cunningham coming back on a $650K a year deal. A bargain, absolute bargain deal. Sophie Cunningham, for me, is one of the bargain deals of free agency on a 1-year deal. To get her shooting, her discipline, her ability to be a connective piece at that price. There are not that, like, it's one of probably the 15 best unrestricted free agent signings, like value unrestricted free agent signings we have seen in a good while. It genuinely is. We've seen, in this free agency period. And I do think Sophie Cunningham, I'm going to give at $600K on a 1-year deal with no long-term commitment. Realistically, like, if you want it, like, this on a long-term deal, if it wasn't for the epic for Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah getting their money, I would have taken this on a long-term deal. I'll give it like an 8 out of 10 purely because it's not long-term. Kelsey Mitchell's Supermax. Irrelevant, by the way. A lot of people think the Kelsey Mitchell Supermax is why we couldn't sign any players. We didn't give Aaliyah Boston the Fever did not give Aaliyah Boston the epic extension. It made no difference. Kelsey Mitchell Supermax is not allowed them to get to get more or less players. Kelsey Mitchell's back. It gives the Fever a much better chance of winning this year. Ideally, I would have cored and traded her to get some assets for her. There's still no guarantee she lasts the full season. I would say Kelsey Mitchell is probably going to help. It's like, and help the Fever to at least the 5th seed this year. At least a step up. Hopefully, he's probably going to be an all-star, might make an all-WNBA team. For me, I'll go for Kelsey Mitchell I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. You just get Kelsey Mitchell back. Lexie Hull's contract. 2 years, $1.5 million for a wing who has 10 good shooting games a year and draws charges. And this is one of those deals where I'm like, it's very different having Lexie Hull on a rookie deal versus having Lexie Hull on the same amount of money that New York are paying Satu. And this would have came from anywhere. Go get your money, Lexie. This is a bad contract. This is the only bad contract, in my opinion, the Fever have. Because of the way the forward market is, nearly every forward signing is a bad contract. But for me, this is a bad contract. This is a bench player potentially getting paid like a borderline all-star. There are much worse contracts for the in general. But like, I'm going to go I'll give this a C. C minus. I'm not going to go D for the Lexie Hull contract, but this is an overpay. And it's an overpay for 2 years. Monique Billings, a fantastic fit. 800k is about market rate. So I don't think they underpaid. I don't think they overpaid based on the going rate for a power forward. Monique Billings is a really solid fit. Ideally, you would have hoped she was coming off the bench, but look, it is what it is. 2 year, 1.6. I would go like an A. If this was like a 600k contract, I'd be going like A, maybe A plus. But at 2 years, 1.6, you're probably looking at a B plus, maybe? A B plus. Still, given the market, it's not the worst signing. Then we have Damiris Dantas. And look, based on the fact that she is a minimum contract, Damiris Dantas has shown the ability at times to give us good minutes. She's shown flashes. She was one of the worst players in the league last year that got minutes for a playoff team. But on a vet minimum, to get a non-reserved free agent, actual rotational piece on a vet minimum who can see the floor isn't bad. Like, as bad as she was 100k a year less than Kia Stokes. So, look, I would love for the Fever to be able to have found someone better in the overseas market. However, they just didn't. So, Dantas, given the contracts, I have to, as much as I hated Dantas being the first player announced, B. Honestly, given the going rate for bigs in this market, getting her on a minimum is a B. As much as I don't rate her as a player, she's better than KK Timpson. Then we have got what is one of the bargains of free agency. One of the bargains of free agency in Ty Harris. Ty Harris at 400k on a 1 year deal. A plus. This is the best backup point guard in the league. And Ty Harris is so good, which is why I have downgraded Shatori Walker-Kimbrough and Raven Johnson, because I think she's going to play the 2 with Caitlin at the 1. She's going to play the 1 with Kelsey at the 2. I think she's the best backup guard in the league. She shoots the ball. She plays defense. She can run the show. She's really, really good. And she can play as a Mario Chalmers type point guard beside a high usage rate player, as she did with Alyssa Thomas. She shoots the shit out of the ball when she's open. A plus. This is by a mile the Indiana Fever's best signing. This is fantastic. Then the 2 training camps contracts. FF. Like, this team already has 75 million guards. Why did they sign 2 to training camp contracts? Like, what's the actual point? They could have waited until right after the draft to try bring someone in, but instead they signed 2 guards. And one being 5'8", one just being from Indiana. They signed based on convenience. FF. I don't even hate Megan McConnell as a player. Don't know much about Kiana Traylor. They just don't need more guards at training camp. So, F. Like, they're just going to be sitting down watching. And then we got Myisha Hines-Allen. The assumption is going to be close to a minimum. No one knows the actual money. I think this is the highest variance signing, is that there's a world where Myisha Hines-Allen is the best bench big, was one of the best bench bigs in the league. Like, that world exists. There's also a world where Myisha Hines-Allen becomes completely unplayable. Becomes unplayably bad. Both of those worlds exist. And I'm going to be honest, I'm hoping that Myisha Hines-Allen is one of the best bench bigs in the league. That being said, the Myisha Hines-Allen signing, I know people might call this crazy, but if you have the opportunity for very little money in the power forward market the way it is, when everyone's getting drastically overpaid, to sign somebody that, if it all clicks, is going to be a better player than Temi, who costs $1 million, and you've got them near the minimum. Even though it's a risk, there's no guarantee she works out. I am giving Myisha Hines-Allen, given the context of everything, a B plus. A B plus. That's why I'm giving Myisha Hines-Allen. So yeah, that is pretty much it. As far as the offseason goes, I think they could have done worse. I think they also could have done a lot better. So overall grade for the offseason, I'll go C.